Today I'm going to be making strawberry rhubarb pie. Yummy. So the fruit that I have, I'm going to be using strawberries and rhubarb. The rhubarb is fresh from just 2 days ago. I picked it out of my garden. So it's frozen, which will be fine for a pie. I'm going to go ahead and measure out 2 1/4 cups of strawberries and 2 1/4 cups of rhubarb. And what I'm going to do is just let them sit in a colander and kind of release a little bit of their juices. I'm going to cut them into smaller pieces, at least the rhubarb. I don't think I'm going to cut the strawberries down, but that way I can make sure that I have the exact amount of fruit that I need. And in the meantime, I'll start working on the pie dough. So I've put my fruit in a colander and I'm just going to have it sit over this pan, and then some of these strawberries are actually really large, so I may cut some of those down. So the key to a really good pie crust are 2 things. First of all, you want the butter nice and cold, and you also want ice water when you're working with your dough. You're going to put your dough together. I'll show you what it looks like when it's ready to go into the refrigerator, and then you want to let it rest. I usually put it in some saran wrap and let it rest for 15-20 minutes before I roll it out. So the recipe that I'm using today is from the old Betty Crocker cookbook. I actually have had this since I was in home ec when I was in high school. So I'm embarrassed to say that's like 50 years ago. So anyway, it's a great pie crust recipe, very simple. So all we're going to do is add, so I'm doing a 2 crust pie. That's going to be either 8 or 9 inch. So I need lattice for the top and I need a crust for the bottom. So all I'm going to do is put in 2 cups of flour. 2 cups right here. There's 1, 2. And to that, I'm going to add 2/3 of a cup plus 2 tablespoons of shortening. So what I do is I use real butter. I cut it into small little pieces like so. Put those into your flour. And then you're going to add a teaspoon of salt. I use the pink Himalayan sea salt like so. And then you're going to add 4 to 5 tablespoons of really cold ice water. Now I've had this sitting on my table for a little while. I'm going to start off with 3 or 4 tablespoons, and because sometimes depending on the humidity, that kind of thing, I never really know like how much I'm going to need, how much I'm not going to need. So we'll put in 4 to start with. And I'm from the old school. I can tell the best way that this is being put together just by using a fork. I know a lot of people like to use the, different types of things, the, food processor. And I have made crust in the food processor before. But I just get my little pieces of butter kind of put together here. And then what I'm going to do is move into using my hands. And I'm just going to kind of run it through my fingers. Now you can continue to use a fork if you like, or if you have a pastry cutter. But basically you want all these little pieces of flour and butter to crumble up into little pieces. You want them more like little pieces of peas. So now you may need to add more flour. You may need to add more butter, well, actually you don't add more butter, but you may need to add more flour. But at this point, this is about the texture I like. I can feel it between my fingers. It's, just almost like, I don't even know what it's like, but you can see it's a really nice consistency here. You don't want to overwork it, so this is going to be plenty for me. I'm going to take a little bit of water. At this point, I'm going to take 2 tablespoons. Just put it right over the top. And the goal right now is just to have this hold together. You want it to hold together. See, it's not quite together yet, but it's getting there. You're not really going to mix it anymore. You've done that with the butter. I'm gonna add a little bit more water. And at this point, I'm just gonna do a tablespoon at a time because this will come together all of a sudden, it'll be pie dough. You want it very flaky. You want it to roll out. See, it's starting to come together very nice here. You want all that to come together. Perfect. One more, I think, and we've got it. Get that piece of ice out. Okay, I think this is gonna do it. Yes, this is perfect. So as you can see, it's kind of sticking together like so. When you form a ball, you don't need a complete ball to form, but this is what we want. So now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna just clean my hands real quick because I'm gonna put this on some saran wrap and we're gonna put it in the ice box. Okay, this is fun. Thank you for joining me. So what we're gonna be doing now is just taking our larger pieces of fruit and just cutting them down a little tiny bit. We're gonna have, for the most part, smaller pieces of fruit, but I wanna just show you the size I'm looking at. So all I'm gonna do for like these larger pieces of strawberry is I'm just gonna cut those in half. The whole strawberries, I'm just gonna cut them in half. Looks good. That's about the size that I want. To this, I'm gonna add 1 cup of white sugar. I'm gonna add 1/2 of a cup of brown sugar. And I'm not gonna pack it. I may pack it a little. Half of what I decide is right here in front of my food. I won't pack it real hard, but anyway. So I'll put 1/2 a cup of brown sugar. Then we're gonna put 1 teaspoon of salt. I don't have a teaspoon with me, but that's about a teaspoon. I'm gonna put that over it. And even something sugary needs salt in it. It needs the balance. We're gonna put 1 tablespoon of vanilla. Now this is my homemade vanilla. I make this out of the Madagascar vanilla beans and vodka. It comes out really, really, really good. So we've got that. And then for our secret ingredient, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of Grand Marnier liqueur. So I am just gonna open this. And we're gonna put that right over the top. Now, if you're worried about your kids having alcohol in their pie, this is gonna cook out for the most part. But the liqueur is gonna give it kind of an orangey taste. I'm just gonna give it a little stir. Now, believe it or not, I have every kitchen gadget, but I don't have a zester. But most people don't realize on the back of their, grating tool here, part of it is a zester. I take that back. I remember I do have a zester that a friend gave me. So you can also put juice in here. It's kind of a cute little gadget. So anyway, but my grater worked just fine. So I've got a little bit of zest here. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in with my fruit. Last thing we're gonna do while this is marinating is we're gonna put in, the recipe calls for 1/4 cup of cornstarch. I'm actually gonna put in 1/3 of a cup because my fruit was frozen. I just wanna make sure that I get enough of a solid texture so that my fruit is not really super runny in my pie. Plus it's gonna sit and, kind of get put together. We're not gonna serve it right away. It's not till tonight, but I'm just gonna stir all of this together, and this cornstarch will help this to solidify to some degree. It'll make that really yummy, gelled, fruit filling for the pie that everybody loves. So I've taken my pie crust out of the refrigerator, and all I'm gonna do is put this out on the board. Now remember, this is great. We want it to be nice and flaky. So we're going to I'm gonna cut it a little bit less than half. We're just gonna set part of it aside. And now we're going to roll this pie dough out. So I'm gonna get a little bit of flour and put this down on my board. And all I'm gonna do is kind of put this together a little bit, and we're gonna roll it out. Now, I leave my pie crust a little bit more dry than some people because I like that flaky pie crust. So if you like yours a little bit more, you know, if you like a more wet or pliable pie crust, you go ahead and do it the way that you like it. So you don't want too much flour on your pie crust, but you also want them, it's kind of a delicate balance, so you're not, you know, having it stick to the board. And I'll show you how this works. It's a great little trick when you've got dough like this that you're worried about sticking. So just put that down. You put your dough right on top of it, like so, and just roll it out, just like this. Now you want your pie dough to be a little bit bigger than your pie pan, and the reason for that is because you're gonna have part of it come up over the side of it and kind of tuck in the pie filling, so you have as little of it leaking out as possible. So this looks really good. I'm gonna take a little bit of this, and see how easy this is. You just kind of put together whatever you need. Very, very easy. I think a lot of times people lose the things that our grandparents used to do on a common daily occurrence, because we've gotten used to buying things at the store and things like that that are pre-made. But honestly, we don't need to do any of that. So all you're gonna do is turn this over like so, and there you go. You can just pull this plastic right off. And it's just another way to help so that you don't have to put so much flour in your pie dough. And I'm gonna just move this in a little bit. I've got a little bit more here than I have over there, so I'm just gonna add this to my dough. You're gonna see the whole thing's gonna come together really nicely in a very short period of time. This is a really good dough. This Betty Crocker, I know there's some that you make out of oil and things like that, but this is a really flaky, delicious pie crust. All right, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to just leave that, and we will add our filling as soon as we make our lattice. Now I'm gonna put my pie plate on a pan, and I wanna make sure that I'm not cleaning up a ton of, the filling, because sometimes it does actually come out of the pan. So I actually line it with a little bit of aluminum foil. And so I'm gonna put my pie right on top of it. And then I'm going to put this together for you. So we're gonna put this beautiful filling right into our pie. And it just smells so good. I can smell the lemon and the strawberries and the rhubarb. It just smells wonderful. So I'm gonna put all this in, just like so. Now you're gonna have liquid from the pie. You want to get as much of that as you can because it's got the cornstarch mixed into it, and it also has a lot of those flavorings that we put in, the different kinds of things. So we're going to pour that right over the top. I try to get every drop. All right. Before I do that, I want to put a little bit of butter right along the top of my pie. So we're going to take our pizza cutter, and we're just going to make our little strips, just like so. Couldn't be easier. Really, really easy to do. You just take these pieces and just lay them across your pie. Let me move this over, like so. Very easy. You're going to take your smaller pieces and put them on the edge, but before we do that, we're going to take some of these and we're going to roll them back just like this. And don't worry if any of these break. It's not the end of the world. It's, you know, it's very easy to put them together. You know, again, this is all super easy. Straighten them out, all those things. All right, I've got another one here. Let me just finish decorating my pie and I'll be right back. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is just go along the outside of the edge, and I'm just going to cut some of this off. So all we're gonna do now is kind of go around the side of it with just a little bit of water. You don't need a lot. Really easy today. So what I do, I just kind of put my fork in the water just to keep it moist. Now we're gonna just take this and even out this edge. So all I'm gonna do is take an egg yolk and I'm just going to give it a stir. Take that little white piece out, just mainly because I don't want it ending up on the top of my pie. And I'm gonna take a little brush and I'm gonna brush. The last step we're gonna do is we're just gonna put a little bit of sugar over the crust, just a little tiny bit. And now we're gonna put it in a preheated oven at 400 degrees for 25 minutes. My pie is out of the oven and it is super hot, so I am just gonna let this cool. So thanks for joining me today. I'm gonna take a quick bite of my rhubarb pie with a little bit of homemade ice cream. Mmm. Pie's the best.
No.
Oh, he's eating cake, so pie's the best for me. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you coming along. Have a great day. Bye-bye.